Hello, friend. Welcome to Bestest, where we sift through the noise so you don't have to. I'm Brian Hart.
I'm Karen McFarland-Holman.
Today, I am going to share a great resource for the food waste problem.
And I'm going to be talking about ditching the SAT. Let's get to it.
And my cool sheet is going to be a movement, and this is called the food waste fiasco. So last week I talked about Rob Greenfield, and he started this food waste fiasco, but I wanted to really hone in on this. So as you might or might not know, we throw away $165 billion worth of food per year in the United States. That's more than the budgets of the United States national parks, public libraries, federal prisons, veterans healthcare, and FBI, and the FDA combined. About 50 million of our 320 million Americans are food insecure, yet we produce enough food to feed over 500 million Americans. So almost twice as many as we even have. To create just the amount of food that ends up in landfills, we waste enough water to meet the domestic water needs of every American citizen. So there's a huge problem. So on one of Rob's rides across the United States, he decided to get all of his food by dumpster. So he went dumpster diving and got all of his food from there. And he decided to then display all of the food that he found on the ground in a park in each town so people could see the real impact and how much food is thrown away. So he had way more than he could eat. You have to see it to believe it. The food was displayed by groups and patterns, and then he started to give away to people that needed it. They they saved $10,000 worth of food and fed over 500 people. Rob learned that he can roll up to nearly any city across the United States and collect enough food to feed hundreds of people in a matter of one night. It's just a really cool thing. I've already ran out of time. I have so many links that are going to be on the show notes for the food waste fiasco.
Okay, I can't wait to see the photos to see what this looks like.
Yes.
And just to be able to comprehend. So what are the show notes? What's the link?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. So it's 10bestest.com/food. That'll take you right to this episode so you can get to all the links. I have a bunch of resources on food waste, books
great.
that I've read. American Wasteland is one of the books, a really good book. There's Just Eat It, I believe, or Eat It or something like that. There's a couple good docs. So yeah. Definitely
Excellent.
tons of resources.
Excellent.
And what I really like is he encourages people that the pictures are amazing too. They worth a million words or whatever that saying goes. But he says, you know what, the next time you go grocery shopping, he's like, why don't you go to the back, check out the dumpster, and when you see how much food is in there, that's when it will sink in, and maybe he's like, you don't have to go dumpster diving, you don't have to bring the food home or eat it. He's like, but just seeing it will change your life.
I believe it.
And he says sometimes they empty it or they're locked.
Yeah.
So you might have to go to a couple different places, but he goes pretty much, once you see it one time, your life will be changed forever.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I know, I worked at the grocery industry for 13, 15 years, something like that, a really long time. And yeah, we threw out produce all the time. I worked in the produce department, but everywhere we threw out stuff. Wow. And you almost have to, because if it's after the date or if it just doesn't look perfect, you can actually get in trouble if you sell it and it's not quite good. That's why imperfect produce and that turned into imperfect foods has been mentioned actually twice on the show. It's so powerful because I messed up, but it's so important and it's just really cool. So I have tons of links, like I said, on our show notes of different things you can do to get more knowledge about the food waste problem.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I know that I need a reminder of that.
Yeah, I know. And I think about it. It's one of my biggest, it's really weighs on me all the time, food waste. I only buy what I need for fresh food, especially. And since I live by myself, it's a very little, my fridge is empty a lot of the times because it's like, I can't, it just hurts me so bad if food's thrown away.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's really important for all of us. My cool sheet, I'm going to be talking about something education related, and this is ditching the SAT. And I want to give a little vignette or story of the history of the SAT, and this is really going to then lead towards this idea of ditching it. So let's go back to the First World War. Robert Yerkes, a leading member of the new IQ testing movement, another test that has major problems with it, persuaded the US Army to let him test all recruits for intelligence. This test, it was called the Army Alpha, was the first mass-administered IQ test. One of Yerkes' assistants was a young psychologist named Carl Brigham, who taught at Princeton. And after the war, Brigham began adapting, changing the Army Alpha, mainly by making it more difficult for use as a college admissions test. It was first administered experimentally to a few thousand college applicants in 1926. In 1933, James Bryant Conant, on becoming president of Harvard University, decided to start a new scholarship program for academically gifted boys who did not come from the Eastern boarding schools that were the regular suppliers of Harvard students. Administrators at Harvard liked the SAT because they thought it measured pure intelligence regardless of the quality of the taker's high school education. So in that sense, it was a good idea. But in 1938, they talked to member schools of the College Board, and they talked them into using the SAT as a uniform exam, but only for scholarship applicants. However, a few years later, it became the norm for everyone applying for college. And in 1944, after World War II, under contract to the Army and the Navy, the SAT was administered to more than 300,000 people all over the country in a single day. And it goes from here that what's very interesting is that if you look at the original SAT and the current SAT, it is not that different. And we're gonna have a link where you can actually go in and compare the two. The SAT is not only racist, it is also classist, and it is sexist, and it should be ditched. And guess what? It is being ditched by over 1,000 colleges nationwide. Ditch the SAT.
Woo! This is like the super for this one.
Yeah.
Ditch that thing. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, I, throughout my high school career, I always had test anxiety. I was one of those people that was really bad at taking tests.
That's one of the issues.
So when you come to the SAT, that's like the mother of all tests that your whole entire college career depends on. I ended up, well, I wouldn't say that this is the only reason, but I never took it. I was too freaked out. Because I was like, well, if my route then will be community college, this is the only way I don't have to take it. I can do that and that. My life could be totally different, and I have no regrets. I'm super happy that I actually turned out this way, but I probably didn't go to a four-year college because of my anxiety over the SATs. So I'm super glad. I was just way ahead of my time, obviously.
Clearly.
But I'm so glad that they're ditching that.
Yeah.
Because it was a big barrier. Really freaked me out.
That is a barrier for so many people. That test anxiety is really common.
Yeah.
And so if you have a whole bunch of people who are anxious, they know, even if you know the material or you know that idea, you know how to do it, if you have it put in front of you and you have that anxious feeling, you're not going to be able to show what you know.
Yeah. And my brain will automatically just like freeze up and forget stuff that I know backwards and forwards, and I just completely go blank.
Exactly.
And I actually, when I got my drone, UAV drone certificate, I started going through this anxiety.
Wow.
And this was the first time 40 some years later where I finally was able to kind of conquer my fear of test taking. But I was still super stressed.
Yeah.
The one good thing about when you are this way, that you will study maybe 4 or 5 times harder. So the person that was taking it with me would be like, wow, dude, you're taking this really seriously. You only have to get this %, you'll be fine. And I was like, I know, but I am going to keep studying over and over. I took 6 practice tests. I think they took 1 or 2. I was just, so that's where I overcompensate. That can be a good thing, but it's because I'm so flippin' scared.
Yeah, well, and it's almost like for that, you had, not only did you want to pass this test that was important to you, but overcoming this lifelong issue that you had, and you did. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it was cool. And then, it is very affirming once you get over that fear or at least conquer it at that one particular time. You feel really good, and I made sure that I celebrated that, and I got higher than that other person, so higher score.
Yeah.
So, just that.
Yeah, I know. I am so glad colleges are recognizing that no, we don't need it. There are way better ways to tell whether to predict success, and Yeah, it's just, I'm so glad. It's been a long time coming. It's finally here. And same with the graduate admissions tests. For all sorts of standardized tests are going by the wayside, as they should.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Appreciate that. Thank you for joining us, friend. I'm Brian Hart.
I'm Karen McFarland-Holman.
Let us know in the comments below, what are you going to start doing to prevent food waste?
And type in the comments below, do you think all colleges should ditch the SAT?
If you're enjoying the show, please share it with a friend and like the video.
Stay tuned tomorrow for another great show.
Don't forget to stay curious.